Jaecoo, what is it? More importantly, the J7. What is that?
Well, it's the first car from Jaecoo, an SUV actually, because they're all about SUVs. SUV this, SUV that. They're also a new brand, like really new, really new, like last year, 2023, new. A premium brand as well from a car company that you might have heard of called Chery.
So yeah, they skipped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Speaking of 6 months, more than that, we've been waiting for this car to arrive and get our hands on the J7 because it was teased for its arrival in Malaysia back in January a long time ago. And even back then, we knew that this car was going to shake things up.
A new so-called premium SUV, tastefully designed and well-appointed, we'll get to that, for the price of mass market options. I'm in the 149,000 ringgit all-wheel drive version, but trust me, you're good with the front-wheel drive version too. You can save 10,000 ringgit and get, for the most part, the exact same Jaecoo J7 experience for 139,000 ringgit. And secondly, Jaecoo is a combo name, okay? 2 words. One is German and one isn't. Jaeger, or the J, means hunter, like Jägermeister or the big robots from Pacific Rim. The Koo comes from the word cool. Okay. You know, like the Proton X50 in other markets, like the Philippines, is called the Cool Ray, the Geely Cool Ray, because, of course, if you name something as a word, it'll become that. It'll become cool. And shouldn't it be called Jaecoo?
Anyway, let's get to the bottom of the Jaecoo J7. I'm Jim, this is Carlist.
I'll start by saying this is a handsome SUV. People are quick to draw the comparisons between Land Rover because, well, Chery has a long-standing joint venture with Land Rover in China to assemble their cars over there for sale. And yeah, there's going to be the usual technology transfer. Looking at a J7, I guess there's something of a resemblance, but I think that this look is Jaecoo's own. The proportions are good, and the squared-off design does give it a presence and a sense of groundedness on the road. The two-tone look is really well done here and matches with all the exterior body colors if you pick something other than carbon crystal black, I guess, in which case it'll be just monocolor. This is called model green. Model green. Not sure what model has got to do with green. I would have called it, camel green or Master Chief green. The front grille is large but not overdone. The LED DRLs look plain cool, but again, not overstated, with the main beams and the midsection cleverly disguised as air intakes. They look good at night, and as the saying goes, for the rear illumination, these 19-inch two-tone wheels are again tasteful. The canonical, in-universe, idealized, lore-accurate Jaecoo buyer is someone who does want an SUV that is off-road capable and would only consider the all-wheel drive. It's got all the other stats too. 600mm wading depth, 200mm ground clearance, 21-degree approach angle, 29-degree departure angle. So you can have your fun in the mud and the dirt, cocooned in your luxuriously appointed SUV, but because it's still a posh car, it can rock up somewhere for a fancy event in your fancy life.
But let's be real, whenever I go off-road, okay, my car is taking me as far as the trailhead parking lot. And then from there, I'm just putting on my hiking boots and then going on foot. And besides, I don't think that these very obvious road tires can actually handle really rough stuff, really muddy, nasty off-road stuff. And GT tires on a premium car, nothing against GT by the way, they make good stuff, but even the Proton X70 comes with Continentals. And since I'm here, the boot space, okay, I know that this car's boot space isn't that big, nothing mind-blowing, on the smaller side, okay, of the C-segment SUV space. 414 liters, nice flat load floor, and below this you get a full-size spare tire. Very useful, although the load height is still quite high. Although this car is an early unit CBU, the CKD model will have even more boot space, okay? 424 liters. I think they omitted this side storage area, so you get a bit more boot space.
And of course, I can fold down the seats and they go completely flat. So under this long, mostly flat bonnet, we find a 1.6 liter turbo petrol with 194 horsepower and 290 Newton meters of torque, paired to a 7-speed dual clutch.
And some of you smart ones might recognize the fact that this is the same powertrain and combo that they have in the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro. And it is basically spoiler alert. But at least in this case, in Jaecoo's case, you can actually see some of the componentry. You know, the air boxes over there, the batteries over there. You can see the hoses and the wires and everything. In the Chery, you have all the plastic all the time, everywhere, all at once.
Even though the all-wheel drive can put the power down better, in theory, its 0 to 100 sprint time is 9.9 seconds, which is beaten by the front-wheel drive's time of 9.2 seconds.
And of course, flush door handles like the Land Rover. Step inside, get nice and comfortable. It'll return me to my old driving position. How convenient. The ambiance, the cabin ambiance is on point. I feel that an interior for a car can be either feeling a little bit low rent or more atas and expensive by how the materials and the design come together, how they converge. There are plastics, you know, soft and hard, but the thing is, I don't really care about that much because yes, some of it, like the center console over here, does feel a little bit Chery-like. But elsewhere, you get nice feeling textured materials and the rest of it does feel solid. And it's not like you don't get any like cheap materials or cheap plastics in Mercedes-Benz or BMW, especially if you don't get the highest of the high variants, you do get some nasty plastics if you look for them. But this whole dashboard environment right here, it's a bit too minimal for my taste. You have a 14.8-inch screen, vertical, not a BYD thing where it actually flips around. This is completely vertical. You have a 10.25-inch driver's display, and it's just a lot of screen. It's minimal because you don't get any physical controls anywhere here. You do get some buttons over here, but that's it, okay? But as far as displays go, this one is pretty good because refresh rate wise, it's very smooth. All the animations are very fluid and fast. You get a very bright display, you get a very sharp display. The front-wheel drive version does get a slightly smaller 13.2-inch display. Not sure if it has all the attributes of this one over here, and you don't get the bigger display. You also don't get rear privacy glass for the front-wheel drive, and that's the only thing I think the front-wheel drive misses out on.
It's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which means it does also have a wireless charger. It's nice and ventilated too. It's 50 watts, so it better be. The speakers are Sony, and they're honestly kind of so-so.
But that is until you discover you have to turn on loudness over here. So pro tip, it'll turn this car's speaker system, the Sony Premium Kononia, from quite so-so to very okay, just with one button. So this car has dual zone climate control, and with the absence of buttons over here, I gotta control it with a screen. Not my favorite thing to do. Well, in CarPlay, like right now, it takes up 100% of the screen. There is no like shortcut for the air conditioning, or so I thought, because all I gotta do is swipe up and there you go, like an iPad. I can use the little controls over here, and like an iPad as well, I swipe down and I have my other shortcuts.
And look at this, CarPlay stays vertical. In the BYD Seal, if I flip the screen into portrait, the only way I can get back into CarPlay was if I flip back the screen to landscape. Okay, what else? Oh, it has a head-up display, 64 color ambient lighting, vented front seats, and a 540-degree all-round view 360 3D monitor. So in addition to the usual 360 cam, this fills the terrain you've driven over. Handy for going off-road or if you've run over something but not sure what or who.
Actually, while I'm here, I'm just show you guys all the active safety stuff because there's an extensive list. So you have everything on this page is all the active safety stuff. So any active safety feature you can think of, probably it's in this car. So the ones that don't annoy me and don't get in my way, I leave on. Right by the gear selector down here, you have two cup holders, generously sized, center cubby. The first layer is this kind of like felt lined thing. Maybe put your wallet in here. The cubby itself is quite deep and quite large, and it's ventilated, so keeping your candy there or whatever that might melt. All right, and the glove compartment down here, nicely damped, see? And actually it's quite big. And for the door pocket as well, it is full length and can fit a lot of bottles or something really long. Also, you have this area down here. And look, do I gotta mention the sunroof? The panoramic sunroof? It's like every time there's a new car in Malaysia, there has to be a big sunroof. In Malaysia, for some reason, a lot of sun, we can't get enough of it. We gotta have these huge sunroofs. Otherwise, I could see myself very comfortable in the rear seats. Taking a nap on a long road trip. My feet have plenty of leg room. This is where I usually sit. Plenty of space for my feet to actually move around. The floor is almost completely flat, barely any kind of like hump in the middle. So anyone with actually 3 passengers at the back will be very comfortable. Speaking of which, you get a nice chunky headrest, and in the middle as well, you get the armrest, nice 2 cup holders, the usual standard stuff. You get a USB-A port, a USB-C port, and controls for the front passenger seat. But it isn't all super logical though, because this car, believe it or not, has some quirks, some odds and ends, starting with, for some reason, you only have 1 air conditioning vent for the back seat. So no matter what, even if you do have Boss controls for the front seats, you gotta share your aircon vent. That's kind of weird. This center cubby has a cool feature. So you remove this little thing over here. There's actually a little space to put your tissue paper, so you can access it all the time. Kind of cool. This is actually a rear view mirror that's wide angle, so you can actually see what's going on around you and spy on what's your rear passengers doing more easily. I've got no issue with the steering wheel whatsoever, except for the fact that I know I've seen it somewhere else, and I've seen it in the Land Rover Discovery Sport. This exact visual with the silver accenting, I know I've seen this in the Discovery Sport. Are you okay with that? But the Land Rover didn't have the flat bottom, but otherwise this is exactly like a clone of the Land Rover. So because this is the all-wheel drive version, it has a few more drive modes than the front-wheel drive version, but every time
normal mode,
it actually comes on to a new mode, it'll actually shout
Sport
at
mode.
you. Sport mode,
snow mode,
snow mode,
mud mode,
mud mode, sand mode.
sand mode.
So I thought there was no USB plugs in the front because I had the wireless charger over here and I couldn't find it until I brought a friend in my car and he told me, hey bro, the USB is over here lah bodoh. So okay lah, letak je, USB-C and USB-A. And there's still some indication that I'm in a Chinese car because this car has one of those things where the car in front pulls away and it tells you, it alerts you, but it actually has a chime, and when it came out the message over here, it said the car in front has drived away. I guess the Baidu Translate isn't quite 100% yet. Also the fuel filler cap. I'm pretty sure that this chime is the same one that I hear every time I start up my Xbox. I am not so sure I'm comfortable having a camera pointing at my face the entire time this car is on. But it's for the driver attention fatigue monitoring system, whatever, okay? And it always tells me that I'm distracted when I'm not, and then it gets more angry when it thinks that I'm getting distracted for too long. So if I squint my eyes, yeah, ding, 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 I am too sleepy, please take a nap, get some coffee, dude, you're gonna crash your car. Okay, it doesn't get too mad, right? And that beep isn't that annoying. And it doesn't like slow the car down or flash the hazard lights or call my grandma and tell her what an irresponsible driver I am, all that kind of stuff. It is a safety feature, you know, but I just don't have that need for a camera always in my face telling me. But besides that, okay, is the Jaecoo J7 one of those SUVs that you buy for its handling? Short answer, no. Although it is a comparable experience to a more premium SUV from, let's say, 10 years ago. All right, you buy a premium SUV these days, you expect a certain level of refinement, like those little fine details that just tell you I'm in a luxury car. This doesn't quite get to those heights, but it gets kind of close. All right, Tiggo 7 Pro and this car. You can't ignore the elephant in the room and the relationship between those two cars. You have the exact same engine up front, okay? 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with about 200 horsepower and 219 newton meters of torque. Call it 300 newton meters of torque. And the same 7-speed DCT as well. I did drive the Tiggo 7 Pro a little bit, you know, shorter distances, slower speeds, and it wasn't, it was okay. It was fine. I think this car, though, is a more rounded package. The same exact powertrain, but it just feels more refined. It just feels, yeah, a little bit more like it's happier in this car for some reason. The gearbox is a lot smoother than I remember in the Tiggo 7 Pro. Acceleration 0 to 100 in 9.9 seconds. That isn't very fast, is it? Although I thought this car would get off the line quicker with all-wheel drive. I guess that's not really true. Handling though, if you want to have a car, if you want to have an SUV that handles well, yeah, you know what, just to get a Mazda CX-5 to be honest, because the driver connection in this car is, I wouldn't say non-existent, but it's not really there. It's an SUV that handles like an SUV. It's just a little bit numb, a little bit too high off the ground. That kind of steering connection to the road is just not there. It's a bit of a delay, okay? Bit of a delay. It just doesn't give you a lot of confidence to plant yourself or reorient the weight of the car mid-corner. It's just not going to give you a lot of confidence to adjust and adjust and adjust. But I wouldn't say it's lagging behind the competition. I would say it's on par with the X70. And this has all-wheel drive. Does it really pull? Yeah. Out of that tighter corner over there, do I feel the all-wheel drive kind of clawing at the road and giving me more grip, giving me access to some traction at the rear? I don't know if this car has enough power to give me that slip. But again, why would you buy an SUV necessarily for the handling? You wouldn't. It's got red painted calipers on the brakes too, so I mean, is it trying to be an off-roader? Is it trying to be somewhat sporty? Give you a little hint that it's sporty? I don't know. But it's stable at high speeds. Strong brakes, stable at high speeds. Wind noise is very well curbed, I guess because you get dual glazing on the front windows, not the rear windows. It does have, that sense that you're in a more expensive car from the double glazing, from the materials around you. But there is one thing I have to address still. So we covered like the high speed stuff, we covered the handling stuff. Now, slow speed. The first day that I was in this car, let me just pull over right now, get to a standstill. Okay, I have this issue with the gearbox calibration, just like the S70, just like the Proton S70. This car does tend to lunge forward. That's a very quick bite point with the throttle. Because of that quick bite point too, the car lunges. You put some pressure on the gas pedal, nothing really happens, or you don't get off the line as quickly as you want, and you put more pressure on the pedal, and that causes the car to just like, oh wait, you want more? Well, no, I don't. I just thought nothing was happening. So what you do is with this car is that you keep your foot on a certain pressure level on the gas pedal. Don't move it. Let the car catch up to you, and then you can kind of like gracefully, slowly, and smoothly go off the line. Other than that though, parking is exceptionally easy in the J7 because, well, I just got a lot of glass around me, not counting the sunroof over here, but the amount of visibility I have, not really any complaints other than the fact that this side mirror is very chunky and might obstruct, when you're turning into a junction, you want to know exactly where the curb on the other side of the road is. That might obstruct it a little bit. But then again, I have a nice big view from the rear view mirror of what's behind me, what's next to me, and then the party piece of this car. Okay? The 540-degree camera is really, really smart. When you turn the wheel at a certain angle, the camera turns on, and it's fully animated too. So you have the wheels turning and everything, and it paints exactly a very clear picture of what's next to you. Jaecoo took their time with this car. I know back in January, since then, we've been asking them, hey, when are you going to launch the car? Come on, J7 is... Come on, it's been so long already. Come on, just launch the car. Now it's finally here. And now I know why. Because this J7, it's a strong contender. It's a strong contender from a very, very new brand. Whoever made this up has good taste. And you really get a lot of car for your money too. And it's a classy one at that. But it's not all sunshine and roses.
For example, the drive doesn't quite match its premium ambitions, and being a brand launched by Chery in 2023, it doesn't have the pedigree of other premium brands. This probably won't bother people cross-shopping for a BMW X3, but it'll definitely make people looking for a Honda CR-V or Mazda CX-5 take pause.
But finally, I want to bring up an awkward family issue. The Chery Tiggo 7 Pro. It's the same size, same segment, but it costs just 15,000 ringgit less than the front-wheel drive version of this car, the J7. And the J7 looks so much better, and it feels to drive and to sit in and everything like a car that is worth 50 to 100K more than the Chery. So should I just spend the extra 15K, take that hit, and get the J7 instead?
That's ultimately up to you guys to decide. All this is just my opinion, of course. Anyway, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below and leave this video a like if you feel it deserves one. And why not show some love by subscribing? Thanks, and see you on the next one.